Hello and welcome to Homegrown Daisy. And today I'm joined by TV presenter, podcast host yourself, actor, radio presenter, mother, the hardest woman in the biz, and my dear friend Laura Whitmore.
The very tired Laura Whitmore.
We're all tired.
How are you, Ruth?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Well, we do this. We do lots of catch-ups anyway, just as someone watching us this time.
Yeah, that's kind of weird actually, having
yeah.
3 cameras in our faces.
I like it.
But we were saying, it's like you were just saying, it feels full circle because I think you were probably one of the first people I told.
Yeah.
Like, Laura, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. Give me all your tips.
Yeah, and I was talking about just my own experience with doing podcasts, and then we went to the toilet and we bumped into a friend of mine who has her own company and they make podcasts as well.
Yes.
And it all happened in the women's toilets. That's why we take so long in the toilet.
That's why.
We're making shit happen,
That
literally.
I'd forgotten actually that was it. And it was the tape agency who were producing this podcast.
It's MK, yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah.
Whilst we were changing nappies.
Changing nappies. I think I was changing the nappy.
Yeah, you were changing nappies. I was just
not
chatting.
my own. But yeah, and that wasn't that long ago. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have you
You make
on
stuff
here.
happen quickly.
Thank you very much. So Laura, you have brought in your significant pieces.
Yeah.
And you could not narrow it down to 5 because you've got so many wonderful
Well, I was
pieces.
wearing quite a lot of them anyway, so I just start taking things off.
it's
and I
fine.
feel a bit bare.
It's perfect. I think we've got lots to talk through, so we'll go through
Okay.
those soon. Now, Laura and I, we have known each other. I was trying to think back. Starts at like 2009-ish.
Yeah,
when-
probably. I moved to London 2008, so it would have been pretty soon
And
afterwards.
it was through our dear friend Natalia.
Natalia, correct.
And we have done festivals together.
Yes.
We've dressed up in ridiculous Halloween outfits together.
I've seen you perform.
You have?
Yeah.
Back in
Because
the day.
when I met you, you were a musician.
Yeah, that's
You still
true.
are. But yeah, so that's how we first met.
Yeah.
And then I feel guilty because sometimes I meet you without Natalia.
Yeah.
And she gets
And she
angry.
gets jealous. And then in 2015, we launched a bloody collection
We
together.
did. Well, I always felt like I was a Daisy girl from the start. I loved the brand. Yeah. Did I even know you were working with the brand when I first loved the brand?
Maybe not.
No, but I think I had seen it and probably was wearing it anyway.
Can you remember your first Daisy piece?
There was, I've had so many
I think
over
it was
the
some
years.
rings.
But yeah, was it the rings or was it a chain? I'm trying to remember the first chain because I used to always layer.
Chakra.
It was a chakra.
Yeah.
It was 100% chakra because I have a tattue of a chakra on my
know.
ankle.
Solar plexus?
I have the base chakra,
Yes.
but I used the Daisy piece of jewellery.
Yeah.
When I went in to Venice Beach in LA to a very questionable tattoo parlor and got it recreated. It looks
Did
nothing
you?
like
I didn't know
the piece
you
of jewellery.
actually used
Yeah.
our piece of jewellery.
Yeah.
And Chakra's having a moment again, you know.
The chakra always has a moment, but I love the idea of the base chakra, the grounding. So I was huge. The chakra, yeah. How did I? It's the chakras. I think
Yeah.
I had them all.
Yeah.
I have them all somewhere.
I remember, yeah, and because we did them in 2 different lengths, and you used to wear 2 of them, I think.
Always wore 2 of them.
Yes. Okay, so the journey started in Chakra. And then we launched a collection in 2015. And I
Was
remember,
it 2015?
Yes.
8 years ago. Like
I
you could have told me that was
know.
2 years ago, and I'd believe you.
I know, like,
How good was that launch party?
I know. Where was it?
It was a place called Tape.
Tape. Is it still there?
It's still there. There's a music studio.
Yes.
As part of it.
Because the guy was quite vibey who ran that.
Zeus.
Yes, yeah.
And there was, because I think like Danny from the script came. There was lots of musicians came. Jordan came from Rizzle Kick.
Yeah.
There was lots of musicians coming.
Yes.
But a lot of people knew the space anyway, and they came to the launch. And the collection was very about music.
Yeah.
And it just felt like a very natural fit.
Well, you knew straight away what you wanted the collection to be
Yeah.
based around, and it was always
Yeah.
going to be around the plectrum, around music.
Shapes, yeah. Because
Yeah.
we were looking around shapes, and
Yeah.
it was like circular, triangular. It's like, what about plectrum shape?
Yeah.
Like a guitar pick. Because I think I had this little like plasticky guitar pick I'd got somewhere that was like on a keyring or then on
Yeah.
chain. I said, oh, okay, we could do something around this. And then you introduced me to the actual mechanics around it, because there's ideas you have, but actually as a piece of jewelry or, you know, silver or gold, that wouldn't actually last, that would break. So we have to kind of work
Sure, yeah.
around that. So it was a really, really fantastic journey for me personally as well, and felt, out of all the collaborations I've ever done, definitely felt the most authentic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, I felt very organic.
Well, I think because we had a relationship already, and
Yeah.
like when you're playing with jewelry, we love it.
And you were great. You gave me like free reign. Like I actually sketched ideas,
Yeah.
and then you made it.
That's how it works.
Like it was no. I've worked with like lots of brands, and sometimes you very rarely do you get to come in on that level.
Yeah, sure.
And particularly when you're working with a brand that's already really established and well known, and it's different when it's your own brand starting from scratch. But you know, there's that kind of fear going, this is how we do it. But you guys were very open. I also just felt, as I said, I've always been a Daisy girl. I love the pieces. Still always wear them.
So let me stop you now. Who's your favorite jewelry brand, Laura?
I'll have to say Daisy, don't I?
You don't have to say Daisy.
No, I loved it because I think Daisy is just very me. It's very wearable, and it's a lot of people I know who wear Daisy wear it every day. Like they'll put those pieces in and they'll just keep them in always. I'm the same with jewelry. I very rarely have my good pieces. Like a lot of the stuff I've put in here, I would be wearing anyway. So I don't necessarily change up my jewelry too much. Sometimes I'll add a few pieces.
That was what I was going to ask. That's one of my questions is like, how do you do it? Because I'm the same. I kind of put a look on and like have the pieces I naturally gravitate towards.
Yeah. I wear the same, like you can't even see now, but my earrings, like they're always in there.
Yeah.
That one fell out. So if it falls out, then we're screwed. Like I don't know when it'll go back in again. But a lot of them I'll just like keep in always. And then I'm normally wearing like all my rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same with chains. Sometimes I'll change the chains around, but like this originated from a Daisy collab that we did. You Are My Sunshine, so that'll be like my everyday. And so many people I know wear this as their everyday. It's lovely. So nice. People I know and people I don't know.
Really?
And, and I'll get emotional, but I think I told you this before about the emails I get about people who wear this chain and the song lyric. Because that means so much and it's close to your heart. But it's just those pieces. Jewelry is, I mean, you know more than anything else. It's not just a fashion piece. It's not just a statement. It's so symbolic of so many things. It's got nostalgia attached to it. And it is fashionable as well.
Because when we're creating it, we're kind of putting our own meaning to it. But when individual is wearing it, it represents so much to them, and they're telling their own story through it. Yeah. I remember when you first launched that necklace again. Yeah. And you text me saying, gosh, the emails I'm getting through customer service with people telling their stories about this necklace. It was so nice.
And I read them all. And then when we sold out, I was like, I have to get more pieces. I have to give the people the jewelry.
Give the people what they want.
But yeah, you're right. It wasn't my story anymore. You Are My Sunshine is such a lovely song for me. And I love the color yellow. And I always associate good memories to that. But for a lot of people, that song was, they grew up with their mother singing that, so their mother might have passed away, and it just gives this whole new dimension to it, and that's theirs now, and isn't that lovely from one piece of jewelry that just triggers that?
I know, that's why jewelry is so good.
It's so good. I have too much jewelry though.
It's good. That's why you couldn't narrow it down to 5.
I know, and that was just taking pieces off that I had on me.
Well, that's good. Okay, we're going to have loads to go through. So I think we should dive straight into your significant pieces off the back of that. I suppose you've already started talking about You Are My Sunshine necklace. So for those listening, Laura has a tiny plectrum engraved. It says You Are My Sunshine, and this was one of the pieces that we made together back in 2015. And like you said, there's been so many stories over the years with people saying, oh, where can I get this from? I love that necklace. So I just said to you, I was like, why don't you just do it again?
Yours. You said you designed it.
You designed it. You have it.
So I relaunched it under the name Ray, R-E, Father, which means new moon, a new era. And we only do like limited little releases, so it's sold out at the moment, but we will do another drop, another stage. And for me, I think out of the whole collection, it's probably one of my favorite pieces when we did it. I mean, I love that whole collection, but this particular lyric, I feel, captured what it was about. Also reminds me of the shoot. We did one shoot once, do you remember, in a rose garden?
Yeah. I don't think I was at that
one. Oh, no, you
didn't.
You saw the pics there?
Yeah.
And it was just so lovely. I just felt that was very much what and this piece was pictured then. Because this was in the second collection for Daisy.
It wasn't even because we had the bigger pieces in the
bigger
first,
pieces, yeah. And I love the bigger pieces too. And I quite like wearing statement piece of jewelry, but a lot of people like smaller pieces to wear. So I think this probably connected to a wider range. I do in silver and in gold plated, and I love it. And so many of my really good friends, like my team who I work with, they all pretty much wear it most days. Yeah, it's like a friendship bracelet.
Yeah, and I always think of yellow when I think of you.
Oh, I'm glad I wore yellow today. It's a happy colour. Even when I'm not happy, I wear it just to try and give myself a kick up the arse.
I remember when I was doing like GCSEs and them telling us that the colour yellow really encourages your brain to think.
Does it?
Apparently, yeah, and it encourages creativity. So maybe that's why you're drawn to it as well.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I do like to think. I did go through a stage of wearing, sometimes you just go to a stage of like wearing black every day, and I sometimes go through that, but sometimes I make myself wear yellow.
Yeah. Okay, so you're on My Sunshine. That's one of your first pieces. Where do you want to go next?
Oh God, there's so many. Okay, we'll go nostalgic, we'll go way back, because I think a lot of people will get jewelry as gifts. I mean, I like to buy jewelry for myself as well. I think that's absolutely fine. But a lot will get gifts, and this was a gift off. I have a few different things I got from my mom over the years and my parents over the years. But this is one that really stands out, and it actually goes on a chain. I've taken it off the chain. And I like it because there's no other piece like this in the world. Because my mom had it made by a jewellery designer in Ireland. It's engraved on the back with Laura, the 4th of the 5th, 85, which is my date of birth. And it's the symbol of the River Liffey, which is the river that runs through Dublin. And it's the symbol of the River Slaney, which runs through County Wexford. So my mom's from County Wexford, my dad's from Dublin. And whatever way the jewellery designer has done it, they've kind of put them on top. It kind of, in a way, reminds me like of a music symbol from far away.
I was going to say.
So that's, everything ties in.
Yeah.
So this was made, and there's like a spearhead and a little leaf. But the way they kind of go over each other, it's like that, and it just hangs off a chain.
And when did your mum have that made?
Like before I moved to London.
Nice.
Yeah, I think she's shocked I still have it. So
really?
Of course I still have it. And I love it because it goes on. It's quite a wide. I can't remember I think the chain it came on was quite short, so I moved it onto a longer chain because then I can layer it up a little bit.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a very special piece because it's one of a kind. In a way, it's priceless in many ways.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the parents.
Gorgeous. Where should we go next?
These are probably the most recent out of everything I've got. So I'll go here next because this is probably the oldest and this is more recent.
Yeah.
And these are from J.W. Anderson. I actually met Jonathan years ago. He had done a collaboration with Coca-Cola that I was DJing at. And he was so lovely. And now he's obviously huge and dresses Rihanna. But there's a little store in Soho. And last year I was doing a show. And what I love as well, I don't really wear earrings a lot unless they're outrageous. And I love that they're different. I've already got
Are they different lengths?
They're different lengths.
Ah, I see. Oh, I love that.
And I was just coming out of a show, and also it was a big thing. It was my first show in the West End.
Yeah.
It was coming out between matinee show and the evening show, and I was wandering through Soho picking up something to eat, and I walked into the J.W. Anderson store that's literally on the corner, and I just bought these as a present to myself to say, well fucking done. And then I think their first outing was the Glamour Women of the Year Awards.
Amazing.
In New York. And
wow, that was a quick turnaround. I remember you literally like in and out.
Oh, classic me.
Yeah.
Because I was doing a show in the West End, so I only had the one day off. But yeah, again, these are probably, because I say it's a lot of jewelry I wear every day. These I wouldn't wear every day. Yeah. So there's a few pieces that would kind of be, okay, I'll stick them on and I feel a little bit fancier.
Yeah.
And I feel these need to be worn when the hair is up.
Yeah.
And then they are the statement. So that's, a little present to myself.
Oh, gorgeous. I remember actually, you wore a black outfit, didn't you?
Good, yeah.
Because I remember being like, whoa, you looked amazing.
Do you remember what my hair was like? It was like right back.
Yes.
My hair would not move for about 4 days.
Really?
It was like literally cement in there. Because that's the thing about when you wear long earrings, sometimes it gets caught in hair. Yeah. So there was no hair in the way of the earrings. So that was that piece.
Amazing.
Right, so the next piece will be, it's a piece that I'm wearing now. And this is by Millie Savage, which is an Australian designer. I'm a big fan of Australia. A lot of friends there. I worked there for many years. And I actually discovered her online. Every piece is a little bit different. So this is a ruby. It's a ruby heart and a sapphire, like a purple sapphire on either side. And I love it. It's white. It looks almost medieval.
Yeah, it does.
It looks like it comes out of a Baz Luhrmann film
really
or
does,
something.
Actually.
And it's chunky. I like costume jewelry. And this is, again, another present to myself when I found out I was pregnant, and it was because it was made and then it came the time that I gave birth. So 2 little presents. So again, I feel jewelry can really mark certain stages of your life. So that was that one. And I get complimented about this more than anything.
Well, it is a big statement piece.
Yeah.
It's so you as well.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't think I haven't seen you not wear it. since
No,
you've had it?
again, once it's on, it's almost like my wedding ring, which I'll talk about next, because I feel once it's on, it's not coming off.
I love it. Okay, let's go on to your wedding ring then.
So the wedding ring, it's an ultra fancy yellow diamond. I need to get that right. My husband will kill me. It's from South Africa. We were there at the time, and he had found this yellow diamond, which I didn't even know was a thing. But yellow being a color that means a lot to me. It actually came in a different setting, and we ended up working with a designer, Olivia, to build it around a shape that I like. The other ring, my wedding band, the diamonds came from a place in Bleecker Street in New York, which is one of my favorite streets. Yeah, we talked so much about this. I feel like I'm telling you stuff you already know.
I know, but it's great.
So then Olivia, who's based in Hatton Gardens, she is a friend of my friend Zoe, and she recommended her. Makes really beautiful statement pieces, and pieces that are very me, because I think with wedding rings, it's so personal. And I knew I didn't want a traditional ring. I didn't want it to look like a wedding ring, whatever a wedding ring looks like. So we, with that diamond, we had it made into this piece.
Gorgeous.
Kind of that yellow gold that matched in with the other rings.
How did Ian take it when you were like, can I rework this stone?
Yeah. No, he was fine, because also we'd always said when, or if he proposed, that he would just have like a pretend ring, and then we would pick one together. But that went out the window, and he saw the yellow and he's like, oh, that's the one I want to give her. So I think it was more about the diamond than we worked it around. I think he's too scared to buy from me.
You have told me, hasn't he got it wrong quite a few times with jewellery? Actually, wasn't it?
Well, no, the locket I'll show next. Sometimes it's just easier. Do you know, my tip is just tell them what you want. Let's not play the games. Just tell them what you want.
Dan has never, apart from my engagement ring, which is actually too big, I'm wearing on my index finger. Yeah, he's never bought me any jewellery. But I guess,
have you told him what? Why would he?
The whole time we've been together.
Exactly. Unless you want to, I just give instructions now, because there's no point.
Just be clear.
Yeah. And he's thankful for that as well.
True. Dropping hints just doesn't work.
No, you just send a link.
Yeah.
I actually have Millie made a chain to match this. I saw that she does that, and I was like, oh, here, Ian, here's just in case, you want to get something for Christmas or, I don't know, our anniversary. Here's a link. Here's her number.
Yeah.
Here's the Instagram.
Do not get it wrong.
But then sometimes I'll say that, and then I'll forget. Right. And then a year could pass by. I'm like, oh, you did.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm like, what is this package from Australia?
Okay, should we go into the locket then?
Yeah, we go into the locket. So I love locket.
Yeah.
So this is also classic me. I took it off and I put it in a little bag to bring it here, and I've already knotted it because it comes in
it's
different.
Quite a fine chain.
It's a fine chain. It did actually come a thicker chain. I prefer the finer chain. That was another thing. It came in a thicker chain, and I went back and I changed it to the finer chain, because I just think jewelry, you want to wear it, so make it as wearable as possible. So it's just, I love the idea of lockets, and I had a locket when I was a kid that you put little pictures in, like me and my mom, which I still have. It's this size, it's the smallest head that you can ever see in the picture. I was like where are we going to find a picture this small?
Exactly.
So it opens up, and then you get to put. So I've got 3 charms. They're teeny tiny. So when I was pregnant, Ian had got me. Where did he get the idea from, this locket? But this was all his own. So it's a little, a small little person. So that was to pop in there. And then since then, for different things, I've had a shamrock and a 4-leaf clover. So there's definitely a theme going on. And then I've got actually a new one, which I haven't put in yet, which is a little emerald, which I believe is my birthstone from Ian's parents.
So nice.
So it's just, I guess it's something that you can build on.
Definitely. Again, for those listening, it's a little glass heart. And it's just got like a hinge on the side of the heart where you can open it up to put your little teeniest, tiniest, most precious little charms. It's so sweet.
It's really good for stacking as well, the length that I've got, because I very rarely will wear this by itself. Yeah. I'll probably always wear it with my You Are My Sunshine chain. So that's that.
Gorgeous. And you have another very interesting ring there.
I do. And normally this is one I wear all the time, because it's quite a small little one. And you can stack it as well. So it's a really thin gold band. and then what looks like almost a pearl inside it.
But it's
But
not.
it's not. It's actually breast milk. Here we're going, oh my God. It's really clever, a really clever idea from a little company that had got in touch with me, and it's a wonderful couple, actually. And they came to the house, actually. It was just after, it was obviously when I was still breastfeeding. And they take a little bit of milk that I used to freeze. God, I feel like that was forever ago, but I breastfed a lot. And there was lots of milk and my freezer was full of it. And you give them a little bit and they send it away or they dry it out and they crush it down to what looks like a little pearl. And it's a little memory of how fucking hard I worked during that time, because it's mad. I think of everything that I was juggling at that particular time.
Yes, because you were doing Celebrity Juice.
I was doing Celebrity Juice. I think I was doing Love Island when I was breastfeeding all that time. When I was exclusively breastfeeding, and also breastfeeding is a choice, but it was a choice that I really wanted to make if I could, and maybe they came from a guilt as well because I was working so much in that time that I could still be there for my child. It's really cute, isn't it? Because it doesn't look obvious.
No, not at all. It's like a milky stone.
Milky stone, but it is like little pearl-like. But it's a really fabulous little company, and I think they do other pieces too. But I just thought that was quite nice and subtle and something to wear all the time and to remember how hard I worked during that time.
I miss breastfeeding.
Do you?
Yeah, I think that kind of like, there's nothing like it really.
You almost forget. Like I sometimes forget.
I don't miss it in the middle of the night.
I don't miss the middle of the night. I'm also like, where the hell are my boobs gone? I used to have really big boobs. And then now they've drained of every single drop. They worked hard. It was worth it. They that's what their function is. That's what they're there for, if they can be used that way.
Yeah.
But what a time. Like every 3 hours.
Yeah.
For months and months and months and months. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got your breast milk ring. Should we go on to this other ring over here?
Yeah, so this is another one from my collection with Daisy that's no longer available. So this is a rarity to have this one. And it's quite interesting actually, because this still has the Daisy stamp, because this little one has the Ray stamp now on it, doesn't it? And the turquoise. I love turquoise.
Yellow and turquoise and gold.
Yeah, that's just me. Turquoise is such a beautiful stone. It's a protecting stone as well. And it's really flattering colour to wear. And I love it. We did quite a few pieces. Yeah. So again, this is another one that actually you can wear with the breast milk stone.
They stack together.
So you can just layer them like so. Yeah. Sometimes I kind of do a little like that.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel better now because I'm putting all the jewellery back on.
Was that in the first collection or was that in our second collection? I think he was second. Yeah.
There was one without a stone. Do you remember? Yeah, that was just the outline, the cutout. I've also got that at home. They're beautiful pieces though, because it's the plectrum shape, but it's still not in your face.
And it's subtle, yeah.
And I had a lot of friends who wear this and who became obsessed with it because I had, I think Aisling B she wore it a lot. I think did she lose it or did Denise? Someone lost it. Was like, I need another one. I need another one. And we got another one. But and also I just love the colours. So I've got a ruby on, I've got purple sapphires, I've got a yellow diamond, I've got turquoise. So all those colours together.
Oh, you got another Daisy ring on. You've got your moonstone.
Got a moonstone on too.
Yeah, I just clocked him. Yeah. I love the turquoise. Looks so nice with silver and in gold.
Yeah,
it's a stone that works with both metals.
Because we did rose gold as well for a bit too. We did do rose gold. Yeah.
Rose gold really had a moment.
Rose gold had a moment. I feel like people stick to the silver or the gold. Yeah. I also moved. I used to be silver all the time.
Did you?
And then I moved into gold. And now I'm hard gold. Yeah. Always gold. But I think there's nothing wrong with mixing your metals too. I'm more than happy to wear different metals.
I'm more than happy to wear different
metals. I mean, if you want to give me a diamond ring, I will wear it, whatever it comes in.
Oh, I'm so glad that there's 2 Daisy collection pieces in your significant pieces.
Thank you. Well, they're very significant.
They are.
It also helped me with my love for jewellery as well, like during that time and kind of going through the process with you guys. Yeah.
So is that all your significant pieces? Have we gone through them? We have.
Oh my God, we have. Okay.
So we did kind of say this. It's been 8 years since we launched this collection together. So much has changed for both of us. A few more grey hairs for me, quite a few more wrinkles as well.
Definitely more bags under the eyes.
What has been since then? What has been some career highlights for you?
For me,
you have done So much. And I know I say this a lot, but you honestly are one of the busiest, hardworking women in my life. I don't know how you do it. Like, how do you do it, actually? Let's touch on that. Because you run all of your social media yourself, don't you?
Yeah, within reason. And social media has changed a lot from when I first went on it. Of
course.
Because I think when I first had social media, it definitely didn't have work attached to it the way it does now.
Yeah.
I used to post a few times in a day. Like I could post, I'd see something and post it. Now I feel everything is so much more considered. And there's so many things I do. But my agent has access to it as well now, which I would never, I'm a control freak. I would never have allowed that. But sometimes it's, if I'm doing, I'm working on a clothing collaboration at the moment, and I know that a lot will have to be done beforehand, then sent for them to approve, and then to me to approve, and then them to approve. And it's like, there's so much, there's not just a and then it goes up.
Yeah.
And I think back in the day when I started, it literally was, and I just used to put it up. Yeah. And there's an element I still want that to be the case, but it's changing. And then I have a little godchild, Ida, who is 13 now, almost 13.
13 now.
And she's like, Instagram.
Really?
Yeah. They're on Be Real and Snapchat and TikTok, and she just has no time for that. So I feel like what I think about my mother on Facebook.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. That's what I pretty much feel. Yeah. So that's changed as well as my relationship with that, the way with social platforms. And there is definitely a more work feel to when you do it than there used to be, which is a bit sad. But then also that's how things are evolving, and also it is a place that you can monetize and you can promote yourself and promote yourself as much as I complain about social media, and I think there's a lot of negatives attached to it, there's also a lot of positives where if you want to say something, you can just put it up there. You don't need a press release, you can just put it up there. But that means anyone can do that as well. But I think overall I'm happy it exists. I just think it's trying to control that within reason in that space for safety as well.
And like you said, you are so hands-on with everything you do. Like, but even just like booking this, you would think that you would have. I've always said to you, like, do you have an assistant? You're like, no. I could never.
You say that now, but I know that my agency will be like, well, Laura, technically, because I have a team there who are great. But then what happens is, especially because of home life as well, it's because I told you what happened this morning. Because I was like, I'm going to this podcast. It's like, no, I'm going to a photo shoot. I'm like, no, you're at home because I'm going to this podcast. So like sometimes we need to be over that as well, just for home life. Sometimes I do think, how do you juggle it all? And you asked me that question about like what's been career highlights in the space in those 8 years. I feel there's been so much because you evolve as a person. The work I do has evolved. I couldn't do the same thing for 50 years. I'm just not that person. And I know even if you do the same thing, you evolve within that space. My mother started as a civil servant when she was 17 and she retired when she was 60. Wow. And I think she worked in 2 departments within that space. But she constantly changed offices within that time. I just feel like I'm really bad at being in one thing because I have so many different things I want to do. So it's about evolving and finding my purpose within that space. And as soon as I've done all I can in a space, I like to try something else. And you've got one life, and I'm very blessed with the opportunities I've been given, and I'm very privileged to still be here doing it. And that's why I think it's really important to use that space, if you have it, to do the things that you want to do, not just what you should do. Because a lot of people tell you what you should do. All the time. But I
bet
I really clearly know what I want to do, and that's, I have to keep reminding myself constantly what that is. And that's what pushes me forward to do new things, whether it's do a West End show or making a documentary series coming out at the end of the year, working on a chat show. And I'd love to do more acting in a different capacity. I've kind of ticked the theatre off for now. I will definitely go back to theatre again. And also have fun. Just have fun, whatever you do. There's some jobs that I get offered that aren't fun. Really? And like something you might have to do. And then I'm like, sometimes take the job that's fun as well. Because give yourself that as a treat.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Love Island was big.
Yes.
For you. And obviously you were working with Ian on that.
Not really.
Oh, no, because
I see him more now since I left the show. I see him more now.
That's true, because he could just be doing the voiceover from wherever.
He just had to be in one place, but I had to constantly move.
That's true.
So that was, again, another logistical nightmare. And I was like, oh, isn't it great you work together? I was like, no, it's horrible.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. And also, it's really interesting too, because I got asked to do that show before Ian knew I got asked to do that show. And I remember it's like, I have to talk to him as well, because this is a show that he's very attached to.
Because he was doing it before.
He was doing it for years before. Yeah. And also, I had worked on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here for about 5 years, and I had replaced Caroline on that. So it felt very organic, and I knew Caroline was very supportive that I would do this. But it also came with, you know, we were in the middle of this whirlwind of outside noise that we kind of had to navigate through. So there was no real time to think about the consequences. But also, I love live telly, and I love entertainment, and I love a challenge. I think that's really important if it's something you want to do and you think you can do. And also try and bring a bit of you to it and not just fit a mold that people might want you to be.
Definitely.
Because people will always want you to be a certain, or think of those expectations. But I have a very clear mind of how I want to go about things and what I feel is the fair way to do it.
You've got an amazing glam team, haven't you?
I've got a great team, and they're like my really good mates. So a lot of that is, and also things not as glamorous as you think. There's, you've no idea the hours and hours to wait around to do something, and telly is so deceiving in so many ways.
Are you hands on when it comes to like what you're wearing, or do you fully trust them?
Oh no, I'm definitely, so Emma Lane, who I've worked with for years. So I started out working with a stylist called Angie Smith. And
we've worked with Angie.
Yeah,
Love Angie.
And Angie lives in Australia now. And Emma was her styling assistant.
Oh, was she?
So I worked with Emma for years, and then I had so many jobs on location. Emma ended up being the person there. And then when I found out I was pregnant, and then I was trying to, you know, keep that as private as possible for as long as possible, just without the outside noise. So Emma was there through all of that.
Trying to disguise the bump.
Or I'd be like, I've seen this thing I really want to wear, and she'd be like, okay, let's see if we can make that work. But I'd always send ideas.
Yeah, nice.
And we both love fashion. I love fashion. And I love how you can express yourself through it. But I'm very much, I will never wear anything I'm not comfortable with, because I have in the past done that. Because you don't want to ruffle feathers, and you just go along with things. But then it's not you, especially if you're playing yourself. I think it's different in an acting part, because then you are playing a different character. Yeah. And again, I have a huge respect for, I've got, you know, being wardrobe departments in film sets and TV sets and in theatre, and it's just what you can do with clothes. Similar with jewellery. I should have brought, I have Jenny was my character in 222. I have her wedding ring that I've kept.
Do you? Oh, that's nice.
And she wore hoops, because I don't really wear hoops that much. Yeah. But Jenny always wore hoops.
What kind of size hoops?
About this size.
Good everyday size.
Good everyday size, because she was a new mom. So I have kept them.
Nice.
I should have brought them in, actually.
Yeah,
that's really, but I've already brought in about 10 pieces anyway. But jewellery is another thing that, because I took off this ring every day.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember I took this off every day to put on my fake wedding ring. And another beautiful actor who I worked with called Tamsin Carroll, who's Australians are connected to me. She was telling me this story when she was doing a play, and she every night had to take her wedding ring off and put another ring on, and then she'd get the train home. And she said one day she was on the train, and she forgot to put the wedding ring back on. She was like, oh, she went to her bag and she put her wedding ring back on. And she said there's a guy upstairs went. Gave her the dirtiest look, and she went to go, no, I'm in a show, and he's like, no, he just thinks she's someone who's having an affair. But what represents just to be seen putting a wedding ring back on,
especially doing that. Before I get home, must put this ring back on. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, now I want to talk. Obviously, we are both mums, and one thing I remember years ago, when you were pregnant, but I didn't know, we were sat there and we were having lunch, and you were asking me lots of questions. And I was like, I'm really tired. And I had no idea that at the time you were pregnant, and you told me like 2 weeks later. But one thing we were talking about is how the juggle, and you were kind of worrying about like, what's it going to be like when you become a mum? How have you kind of coped with the juggle, I suppose?
I think it's a really interesting question. And I get a bit funny sometimes when I get asked that question, because I think it was more other people's thoughts about how I should behave or how it would affect me. And I remember when it came out that I was pregnant, or more people knew, because I think it was even going to come out before I had said it. I remember getting a call saying, oh, the papers found out you're pregnant, they're going to write about it. And we were just like, I had actually done a shoot with a brilliant photographer called Claire Rothstein, and
I remember that one.
we had those pictures. I was like, fuck, I put these pictures out because I'm going to own this narrative and not someone else. But then it's like, oh, so you're not going to do Love Island, you're not going to do this. And I remember like Ian didn't get asked any of those questions. Ian didn't get asked how it's going to affect his work. No, he didn't get asked any of this. And I still think we do it as women to each other as well, because we live in this, you know, patriarchal society that we still have these ideas of where our station is and what we should be doing. And that I found hard because it was more the expectation of what what I should be doing. And I've always constantly tried to fight that. And I probably sometimes fight it too much because I feel so forceful and I feel that weight so much. But I'm really lucky to have these brilliant women around me, and I feel very blessed that I was not the first of my friends to have a kid, because I think you learn a lot from, you know, also you kind of forget. I remember my mom came over to help. I was like, oh yeah, you've done this, you've had a kid. You kind of forget that your parents have gone through what you're going through. But the same way, like you and I have quite a lot of friends who had kids, thank God, because I tried to get their experiences, and your experience will be different than my experience, but I also know you're a very successful woman and you went back to work and that was important to you. And I think we're quite similar in that way, because I knew it was very important for me to have my own identity as well, because you just sometimes can, and it's, again, we talked about the breastfeeding thing, you're literally having an organism live off you. You've created life and they're still living off you. And you forget it's not just about the birth, it's what comes afterwards. And then you can lose your identity, and then you've all this other ideas of oh, well, you should stay at home now. Or, oh no, you should be back to work now, but oh, do you not feel guilty? And you've all this, and you just have to cut that out and just do what's right for you. And I think I went back to work the next week. But I'm very blessed in the type of job that I have. I think I went back, recorded a show of Celebrity Juice on the Wednesday, and I wore this incredible 70s orange fluffy dress, and I felt fabulous, and gold stilettos, because I couldn't sit at home on the sofa. And then my waters broke on the Saturday.
Really?
The following week, I went back and did a show, like I think about 8, or was it? Yeah, maybe 9 or 10 days afterwards. And I had my glam team, and we dressed up and we played music, and you know, she was there with me, my husband was with me, and I worked for a few hours. I don't sit at an office job, where I couldn't bring a child in for 8 hours because it's not practical, but I could with my work, and I'm very blessed for that. But again, it's like, oh, should you be doing that? Are you okay to do that? Are you sure? Don't push yourself too much. And I found that quite frustrating.
Did you?
Yeah, just the outside noise.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, becoming a mum, there's so many different things that go around in your head. But I think, like, I know we've talked about it before. I don't know how you can navigate it when you have so many eyes on you and so many people having a bloody opinion on your life. It's
also, I'm too busy living my own life to have an opinion on someone else's life. Do you know, like, I just think we're too busy. I always think when someone else is projecting negativity on you, it coming from themselves. So I try not to take that to heart too much. But it's hard if they say things that are triggering to you because you feel guilty, and then someone else is telling you should feel guilty. That's really hard because you're like, I fucking know, I feel guilty. But you also have to pay bills. I don't work, I don't get paid. I could say, okay, I'm not going to do this series of Celeb Juice. I don't do that. I don't get paid for those episodes. So I'm like, do I go in for a few hours and get paid enough money, like a stupid amount of money for compared to what other people get? Fuck, I will, because that's my child sorted for a while. So it's some of those decisions. There's a lot that comes with that.
The mum guilt is real.
Yeah, and like, where the fuck's the dad guilt?
Yeah, I think about that a lot.
Yeah,
I went away for a few days the other week, and because I knew I was going away for like 3 days, I took off the week before.
Yeah, so
that I didn't feel so bad about leaving them all for 3 days. I still felt super bad leaving them for 3 days. I felt bad when I got back. You know, it's just like, God, I feel bad when I leave the house. I feel bad when I get back and they say, Mommy, why did you leave us?
But then I just look back to my memories of my childhood, and I grew up a single parent household with my mother working full time. And I just have really good memories of that. It gave me a really clear concept of work ethic. And I think I remember my mom saying my one regret is that I was always too tired to play with you because she was so tired by the time she got back from work. I don't have memories of her not playing with me.
That's nice.
I remember us like baking together. And
Great.
I remember she used to always fall asleep on the sofa watching films. And it'd always be like trying to open her eyes. Go, what's the end of the film? But that's not my memory. I have really happy memories. And I also have now grown into this woman who has a really strong work ethic. Yeah. And that comes from my mother. So that helps me go, okay, don't be too judgmental on yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the same as well. And I want to make sure that my kids see that mummy works really hard.
Yeah. And I love your setup because you have a setup which I actually think would work in our house is when, you know, your partner's at home and it's really confusing because years ago you wouldn't see the man being at home. And why not? Because I actually think Ian does better at home than I do.
I think, Dan does. Dan does. Sometimes when I'm at home for too long, I'm like, shall I have a glass of wine? Like,
yeah.
This is exhausting.
Yeah, but it's also your personality. And there are some women who love being at home all the time. Yeah. So I think it's complete individual choice. Definitely. But choice is what it is. And it's only you who can make that choice. Mm-hmm. And also I've got friends that we mentioned who aren't moms yet. Yeah. And I went on last Saturday to my friend Dee and I saw Natalia and stuff like that. And I'm still that Laura.
Yeah.
Obviously I've got a human being that I'm keeping alive as well, which is an extra responsibility. But it's important not to forget. You don't just change.
It's not your identity.
And you're not just in this club that excludes all your single friends as well. So I think that's important to remember as well, because it can be quite isolating for people who don't have kids. Yeah. Because they feel like they're not in this club yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether they choose to or not. So I think, I try not to define myself by that. I feel like I feel really lucky because I wanted to have a child and I have a child. But it also it doesn't define you, who you are.
Yeah. Let's bring it back to the jewellery.
Okay.
Looking back, what's your earliest jewellery memory? Like as a kid, can you remember the first piece of proper jewellery that you ever got? Or even just the first piece of jewellery that you thought, even if it wasn't proper actually, just the first piece
I remember as a kid growing up in Catholic Ireland, the rosary beads.
Right, yeah.
And then for your communion, you get your own rosary beads. You got your own little like purse and then this little box that the rosary beads came in. They were like little pearly ones. I mean, what they represent now, because I definitely have a really tough relationship with religion. But for me, I always try to think of my experiences growing up, and I'm lucky I had a very positive experience of, like, for me, going to mass was hanging out with my friends and this community feel and Christmas and carols and songs. I think the representation of what communion is in Ireland now has completely gone out the window. It's about how much money is in a card. But I still remember this little, rosary beads and then a little cross that I got. And the symbols of that. And I remember, and the cladder ring. Do you remember the little cladder rings that people used to have? So they were an old school wedding ring. And I think Angel gave Buffy one. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Very 90s.
So 90s. And the cross is like, oh my God, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So cool. So yeah, they were probably my first memories of jewelry, and that little locket that I had with me and my mom's tiny little faces. And I've really good memories of that. I think now, especially with crosses and the crucifix and what it represents, but for me it has a different meaning that I still take a lot from.
Any looks from the past, jewellery looks or fashion looks, that you look back on and slightly cringe at but go, yeah, that was the time when I felt really good?
Oh God. Well, I went through stages and then I look back and I cringe and then I probably go back to it again. Like chokers were a big thing.
Of course.
But then I think in recent years I went back with chokers again. Dee Moran wore a choker on Saturday night and I was like, she looks great. Yeah, but it just things that sometimes you look back and you're like, oh, what was I thinking? And then it comes back around again.
I had this, I actually bought a belt. So it was like a chain belt.
A chain belt and a low rise.
Well, yeah, but it had like black leather going through it. But maybe this is the first time I really created my own piece of jewellery. I took the leather out, got the chain, like soldered it together, and I had this big, chunky chain.
Wow.
Yeah, so I wore that a lot.
You wore a belt as a necklace.
Yeah, it's like, I'm talking like seriously heavy. Big links. I'll try and fish out a photo.
I remember watching Independence Day, the film with Will Smith.
Of course.
And Will Smith was wearing this white vest. He was so fit. And he had those dog tags. I hosted with Will Smith.
No.
This live thing for Sky. It was Suicide Squad, the film.
Yeah.
And we were in Leicester Square and we had to host this thing together.
What was it like being?
He's
in his
brilliant.
presence?
He's brilliant, which is why I know in recent times his behaviour, which he's apologised for, but he was a lovely guy, lovely to work with.
Yeah.
But I just remember in this 90s film, he had this white vest on and these dog
tags.
Dog
Yes.
tags. So I bought a pair of dog tags. And they came in this little brown envelope.
Mm-hmm.
They came in like kind of army-esque.
Yeah,
and then it was purely because Will Smith was so fit fighting aliens.
I love the fact that you were influenced by Will Smith's jewellery.
Yeah.
Who would have thought it?
Yeah, in the films. That and Buffy with the cross.
Of course.
So you definitely take a lot from
Yeah.
what you see in the big screen as well.
Who's the person that you've been around that you've just felt the most starstruck, or someone that you've interviewed or co-hosted with?
I mentioned this a few times, but I'm a huge fan of Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl and like Nirvana days. Mm-hmm. And so this is a tattoo that's actually his handwriting. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
You can't take tattoos off like you can with jewelry.
So he wrote that for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
That's
so I was
cool.
interviewing him for a show. So probably with him, the first time I met him, because I was a huge fan, I was like, please don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Please. That's the worst,
Don't ruin
isn't
it for
it?
me. Yeah,
you know,
of course.
there's definitely people, they don't have to be famous. There's people that you look up to, maybe from afar, and then you meet them and you're like, oh,
ew. Yeah.
what a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But he was lovely. But I was definitely starstruck with him. And then I love Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And I actually forgot I'd met her. Because I gave her, did I tell you this? I gave her a piece of Daisy jewellery.
When?
And Daisy.
Back in the day?
Back in the day. And
Drew has Daisy.
she saw Daisy written on it. Because she was like, oh, Daisy means something to her.
Is that daughter's name?
Or it's her favourite flower, or it's a name that she was going to be called. There was something she was like, oh, this is Daisy, because Daisy meant something, and now I've totally forgotten, and it'll come back to me.
Drew, if you're watching this, we'll send you as much jewelry as you like.
But I gave her, and she took it, and I have a picture of the two of us together. But I can't even remember what she said back to me, because that's how starstruck I was by her. I was like, here's some jewelry. And it was one of the collabs that we had that I gave her. And I remember she was like, oh, Daisy. Maybe it's to do with her book or something at the time, but it was definitely that word meant. It triggered her in a good way.
Oh, Drew.
I love her.
Yes. Okay, so before we go into some quick fire questions, can you just tell us what else you've got coming up this year?
Yes, so this year I am doing a collab. Speaking about jewelry, I'm a big fan of clothes as well. So I've been working on something for a while that'll be coming out later this year.
Amazing.
I'm doing a documentary series, which is basically been my heart and soul in the last few months.
Amazing.
That it's not been the easiest thing to make, but I feel it's going to be worth it, and it's been really authentic, and I've really connected with it in a way I was surprised and hard as well, because a lot of people have been sharing their stories, which they're tough stories to tell. So that I'm really excited about. I'll be doing a new chat show on ITV on Sunday mornings.
This is massive.
So that's fun. I mean, I haven't started it yet. We just had meetings. And again, I had an idea that was happening, but then you don't know until you say it, because like this business, when someone says, oh, you're going to do this show, we really want you to do this. And then you're like, are we still doing that? Have you changed your mind? And I'm a huge fan of Drew Barrymore's telly show and her Drew's News and all that. So I definitely... That's
so
the type of energy.
Laura.
So it is very exciting.
So
that starts the end of April, which is also when I move house.
Which is a really chilled thing to do,
Just
apparently.
don't move house when you start a new telly show. It's such a bad idea. It wasn't planned that way. So, and that will be another thing as well with when I went to look through my jewelry boxes, and I need a better plan.
We could get you one of these.
And these, do you know what? I have small. This is a good size one, because I have one that's about half this size, which is a travel one. But I end up not putting anything because I've got little travel ones and I can't see anything. I ended up buying a DIY plastic box, for bolts and screws.
What, to separate it all?
Yeah, because you can see it all.
That's a good
because
idea.
look what happens. Sometimes this happens.
Yeah.
This happens. And when my mom comes over, sometimes she goes, do you want me to unknot any of your jewelry? I'm into this now. I found a good way to. I'm going to keep doing this.
Once you start,
yeah. But this is, I love thin chains, and this is one of the things I have to deal with.
And you have a podcast with Ian.
I do. #1 true crime podcast, exclusively on Spotify. We do a podcast called Partners in Crime.
Amazing.
Which is about true crime stories. I always think nothing is as strange or crazy as real life. Some of these stories, I'm like, this can't be true. and yet it is.
Oh.
Like there was one story about which one will I tell? About this woman who had a lover that she kept upstairs in her attic for 10 years and her husband never knew.
What?
Yeah. I mean, he ended up killing the husband. And then they moved into a new house and he kept living in the attic, even though she had no husband then.
Oh, God.
But me and Ian tell those stories together, and I think we've had a lot of positive responses because I think we just tell stories in a different way than your average true crime podcast.
And your different opinions.
And
on,
a different
what's
opinion.
going
I
on.
love a backstory. Ian just wants to get to how did he kill, what happened.
Oh, no,
like,
I need context.
Did he use, like, what weapon did he use? Or like, he's into, like, I don't like horror films. I don't like
me
gory
neither.
stuff.
Mm-mm.
But I want to know, and what was her childhood like? And why do you think, did she have daddy issues? And tell me. And that's what I'm into. The psychology of it all. He hates all that. He's like, get to the bloody point.
Okay, Laura, we're going to finish on some quick fire questions.
Okay. I've given up on this. I'll go back to you later.
You were
That's
close.
the jewellery.
You were close.
I think I made it.
Right, quick fire questions.
Okay.
And I think I know the answer to most of these. Silver or gold?
Now gold.
Huggies or hoops? Little huggy earrings or hoop earrings?
I used to be more huggies, but I've kind of, since I started wearing hoops for Jenny, I think they look good on me.
You can't go wrong with a good hoop.
But I used to not be into hoops. And actually for the Brit Awards this year, I went J-Lo and I wore, I got them in a vintage shop on Brick Lane, these massive hoops from the 70s.
Amazing.
I like them so big you can almost fit your head through them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, your fist for sure. Yeah.
Chunky or delicate?
If it's on my fingers, chunky. Around my neck, delicate.
Yeah, that sums you up. Clothes or jewellery?
I think they incorporate. I mean, when I'm naked, I'm still wearing jewellery.
We had someone else that said
Did
this.
they? Yeah. So technically, jewellery.
Like, if I'm naked, I've got some jewellery on. I'm like, yeah there's a thing going on
yeah,
here.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're choosing jewellery?
Yeah.
Okay. One piece from here that you would save in a fire?
Oh God, that's really good. That's in. Well, I've got these on me already. This is why.
Oh, that's true. You're clever.
So
you know.
clever. If you sleep wearing all your jewelry, when you get out, they're all on you. So I've already got the wedding ring and the
Okay,
milk ring
yeah.
and the ruby one and the daisy one around my neck.
Oh, you're fine. You're cheating the system.
So maybe the one that my mom got me. Yeah, because I don't wear that every day, but it's a special one.
Okay. And I'll never leave the house without. It doesn't have to be jewellery, just an item.
I mean, I could be really like sentimental and lovely, but realistically, my phone.
I know.
Because everything's on it. Because your phone isn't about, it's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, it is everything.
Yeah. And I have a second phone that it's my old phone, but sometimes I use it for like storage and and sometimes I use that to call the other phone to see where that is.
That's a really good idea.
Because I don't use a landline anymore.
Yeah,
the main
course.
reason
Who does?
the only reason I had the landline was to call my mobile phone to see where it was. So yeah.
That's
so my
true.
phone, I know it's pathetic, but it's also practical.
It's true. Laura, it's been so nice to have you on. Thank you so much. It means so much for you. And for you. It means so much to me.
Do you know what? It also means so much for me.
Oh, good.